Well, so we just read the Grimm brothers story, The Riddle. Do you want to give us a summary and then we'll talk about it?
So there's a king's son, and he gets a great desire to travel the world. So he takes a servant with him, and one day they're traveling through the forest at night, but it's becoming dark, and they haven't found a place to stay. So they encounter a maiden, and they know that she's very beautiful, um, and they speak to her and ask her if they can stay overnight at her house or inn. I'm not sure which one it is, but she accepts. But then she tells them um, that her stepmother is a witch and that they need to be careful because um, she will try to harm them. Um,
Yeah, not
and
eat and drink anything, I think.
yeah, yeah, and she warns them to not eat or drink of anything that she may offer. Um, but the king's son, he has no fear, and he just steps into the house, and there's like an old woman with red eyes sitting near a fire, and she welcomes them in, uh, and she offers, I think, maybe food and drink to them, and tells them to sit by the fire. But they don't take partake in anything, and they sleep through the night. When it's morning, the king's son and the servant, they're preparing to leave, and um, the witch says to wait and that she'll bring them drought, I think, or it's just something to eat or something.
Mm.
That's what I assume it means. So
Or
when she,
something to
as she
drink.
yeah, as she like goes back into the house to obtain it, the king's son just rides away on the horse because he knows he's still following the warning. um and the witch comes out and the servant is still there, I believe. And she tells him to take this to your master. It's a good drink, um, but it's filled with poison. So the servant takes it, but as soon as he takes it, the glass shatters and the poison like travels all the way to the horse that the king's son was riding, and it kills the horse instantly. Um, and I think then like a raven comes and starts eating the horse.
Yeah, and
Um,
that happens when the servant went to fetch the master.
yeah, yeah. So in that time, like the servant decides to kill the raven.
Well, he comes
So
back to try to
yeah,
get his
kills.
saddle. And then yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he kills the raven. And they keep traveling, and they find an inn, and the inn, they walk in, and the story notes that it's nothing but a den of thieves. I mean, of murderers. I mean.
Mm.
Uh, So the servant gives them the raven to eat and cook, and I think the innkeeper or and like the witch, they eat the like a raven stew, and like everyone there dies. Um, and and then like the daughter, like or the maiden in the house, like she was innocent and didn't partake in any of the criminal activity there.
Hmm.
And she shows them like all the treasures they had hiding, but the king's son refuses to take anything and tells her that it's hers to keep. And he leaves. Um, so then afterwards, the king's son and the servant, they keep traveling, and they come to a town that's known for its beautiful princess. And her thing is that uh, she enjoys riddles. And if she's to marry someone, it has to be a riddle she can't solve. So So far there's been nine suitors that have attempted, uh, and she saw all the riddles, and the consequence of that happening is that they all lose their heads. So everyone has died trying. And when the king's son sees the princess, he's so taken by her beauty that he decides to take the risk, and he comes to her with a riddle. And the riddle says, one slew none and yet slew 12.
Yeah.
Um, and she has 3 days to solve it. Uh, so on the first day, the princess, assumes that her servants will be able to hear the king's son speaking to himself in his sleep about the riddle, and she plans to find out that way. So on the first night, she sends one of her servants, but the master's servant already knew that they might try to do that. So the master's servant disguises himself as uh, as the king's son. The king's son's servant disguises himself as the king's son, and he sleeps in his master's bed. And when the servant girl like appears near the window or something, um, I don't know if it was near the window. I think
Mm.
so, but
But yeah,
he
she's listening to see if he tells the secret in his
yeah
sleep.
he like jumps out with like and chases her away with rods or something, and he grabs her mantle in the process.
Yeah, the
Um,
mantle I guess she was like covering herself with. It's like hit makes her hidden.
yeah, yeah. So then on the second night, the princess sends her lady in waiting. So I think that's like the highest ranked maid, um,
Must be.
like her maid maid.
Mm.
So I think they're still anticipating the same thing. So the king's son, a servant, like jumps out and she chases her away with rods again.
Mm.
And they also grab her mantle in the process.
Mm.
And on the third night, seeing that they've had no success, the princess comes herself and she comes in with a light gray or silver mantle.
And it was the
Um,
master that was sleeping this time because they had
mhm.
thought, you know,
Yeah,
that they weren't going to do that again.
yeah. So they thought they were safe, and the master's sleeping in his usual bed. Um, so the princess comes, and the master is still awake and sees her there.
Pretending to sleep
And
though.
yeah, he's pretending to sleep, and she starts asking him about the riddle. Um, and he responds with,
Well, she says, like the first part, one slew none. What is that? And he said, a raven which ate of a dead and poisoned horse and died of it. And then she asked about the second part of the riddle, and yet slew 12. What is that? And then he said, the 12 murderers who ate the raven and died.
"Hmm." So yeah, then he jumps out and with the rod and stuff, and the princess tries to run away, but he's able to hold her and grab her mantle. Um, and but she knows the answer now. So um, the next day, I think they go before, so like a judge or jury or like king. They
Yeah,
go
that's
before
right.
someone.
Yeah,
Um,
judges. The 12 judges.
mhm. And the princess, I think she says that she knows the answer to the riddle. And then the king's son says that um, she came to his room at night and that he has the proof, and he pulls out all the mantles belonging to everyone. Um, so they declare that since he has the mantle as proof that she came to his room at night, um, like even though she still knows the answer to the riddle, like I guess it doesn't matter, and she must marry him.
Well, she
So
didn't guess
they,
it.
oh, okay. But yeah, they say that now her silver mantle must be embroidered with gold, um, and that should be the wedding mantle.
Yeah, gold and silver. Yeah. Yeah, good retelling as usual. What did you think about this story?
Mm. Well, there's the threes thing again. There's always like a the principle of threes going on.
Yeah, that's right.
So I noticed that.
Yeah, three challenges,
Mhm.
three times when he could have died, and each
Mhm.
time arguably more dangerous than the time before. The first time
Yeah.
it's a witch, which to me seems like a dragon or something like that. I guess all
Mhm.
of them you could think of them like dragons that he has to slay. Well, the third one I guess is not like a dragon, but the first two anyway.
Mhm.
You know, when he walks into the witch's house. He's been warned not to, but then he goes anyway. And she has red eyes, just like witches do. But to me, that makes me think of some kind of monster like a dragon. And, but she's welcoming, so she's deceptive. And she's also right by a fire, and she's like stoking the fire and cooking something or something like that. So that invokes sort of the fire imagery of a dragon, the power and everything of a dragon. And then the second time, of course, it's even more. It's 12 murderers. And
Mhm.
also the house is filled like after they dispatch with the poison, they dispatch the murderers. The innkeeper's daughter opens up all the doors of the houses. It's like there's many caves, many rooms, and it's filled with treasure. So that is, you know, makes you think of like the lair of a dragon. But I think probably in medieval and modern times, there's probably like some kind of identification of like dragons and witches, as some kind of hoarding, kind of everlasting, unnatural, tricky kind of evil being. And then
Yeah, and then like the last challenge is not like a witch, but a princess, so that's unusual,
yeah,
kind of way. But she gets nine people killed, so yeah, so
yeah, she is like
yeah,
some
dangerous
kind of
that way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This is quite the risk-taking kind of intrepid prince. This isn't like someone that was just looking for some
Hmm.
romance or something like that. Like he like it's mentions at the beginning he wanted to go out, so it's almost like a knight errant or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I guess he could have found like the beautiful maidens before that weren't that dangerous, but he
Yeah,
wanted the
exactly.
challenging one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like it was funny that the first two seemed, according to the story, like they might be marriageable. They were beautiful and kind, and they tried to protect, even though they're surrounded by evil, they were still good, and they tried to protect the servant and the prince. So, but yeah, he wanted to keep going on. Yeah, and the last one, we read another story that had like a haughty princess that kept giving like impossible challenges where,
Yeah.
but in that story, like the that was the servant who had who was it wasn't a prince, but the servant like he had helped a bunch of animals, and then they ended up helping him like uh,
Yeah.
to to pass the almost the impossible tasks that the
Mhm.
that princess had given him.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, this one she's on a different level. I mean, it obviously reminds you of the Sphinx from ancient Greek mythology and literature.
Mhm.
The Sphinx who gives who is a woman who gives riddles and kills people if they can't solve them. But this one, it's the reverse. She tries to get riddles, and if she can solve them, then if she can guess them, then she kills the guy.
Mhm.
But if she doesn't guess, she marries him. So there's obviously the relationship there between sex and death. They're very close to each other in many ways. Yeah. Numbers here. We have 12 murderers and 12 judges. So we have kind of like, you know, there's often kind of a parallel structure, like two opposites in a story. I think J.R.R. Tolkien has that in his stories, and you probably see that in a lot of folk tales. You see it here. It also mentioned that he was blinded by the riddle loving princess. He was blinded by her beauty. So there is this sense of which this prince loves to go into the unknown. I characterized him as like risk taking. He likes going into a place where he's been warned, like you can be killed. Like he sets off in the beginning of the story because he just wants adventure, so that's going off into the unknown. And then into the first house, like she mentioned to him, like this is a very dangerous place, you could die, and he goes in. And then the second place, he goes into a den of murderers, and the third place, he also goes into a place where this person has killed nine, but he's the 10th and he succeeds.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder if there's anything numerological about 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Have like any kind of meaning. Um,
10 commandments. I mean, 10 is somehow a complete number, I think.
mm,
I think 12 is as well, 12 apostles in the Bible, 12 months of the year.
mm,
I don't know. Yeah, I've heard the Lord's numbers in Western culture, sort of like maybe three for the Trinity, seven days of the week, and maybe other
mm,
things, and 10 and 12, 10 commandments, 12 apostles. I don't know. And that has something to do with six being Satan's number, which is like
mm.
Satan tends to be a twisted version of God, and six is not quite seven, but I don't know. What else do you think about this? There's interesting that there's proof in this story that makes me think of like the golden slipper in Cinderella, or in the Disney
Yeah.
version, the glass slipper, or you know, there's things almost wouldn't work out at the end, except there's this one piece of proof that in Cinderella, the prince like had put pitch on the staircase so that when she ran away the third time, he had prepared for that.
Mm,
He uses a stratagem to try to gain proof, and then to later on, this is proof of her identity that, you know, disproves that her sisters are herself, because their
mm,
feet don't fit into the slipper. But here too, these mantles prove that the prince did was visited in the night by the she didn't guess the riddle. She
yeah.
like she said she would. She tried to cheat.
Yeah. I guess like just mantles and had just had coverings in general kind of, represent like innocence and kind of purity in a way. But
Yeah,
having
yeah.
those mantles kind of proves that there weren't so much and that they're kind of grown women now. The princesses are grown women and kind of ready to be married off.
Yeah. Maybe there's something about immaturity there where one wants to stay a child and to be able to play a child's games, and the taking of the mantle is a kind of forcing them to become adults or something like that.
Mhm.
And maybe there's something about the prince that's like that, like he is the agent of transformation of others in this story. So he is able to get rid of the murderers. I guess in the first one he wasn't able to take care of the witch, right? Like the witch stays that way, right? The first
Mhm.
witch. But
I
anyway,
think so.
he gets rid he gets rid of the murderers, And there is something interesting about using the witch's poison to do that rather than himself or something. Maybe there's some kind of circle of completeness or something like that, like
Mhm.
nothing shall go to waste or something like that. It's like the energy has to go somewhere. But anyway, yeah, he transforms the den of murderers into like a liberated dragon's treasure trove. And then with the princess who's trying to waylay all these guys and to stay a maiden. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the mantle is like a symbol of their maidenness, of all of them. And so maybe it's almost like there's this stuckness in like childhood, playing games, riddles, and everything, and killing people, you know. There's this immature psychopathy there. But yeah, he transforms them, at least the princess and maybe her maids and everything by association into married women, adults kind of thing. Yeah, but yeah, in a way they try, you know, they use this symbol of maidenhood as a weapon to try to hide their what wasn't that like to hide their identity or something, or maybe it's more like
Yeah.
they just go around with those, and then the servants and the men were able to capture those as just that helped them later to have proof of what's been going on. It's probably something like that. One thing though I wonder is so the deal of the Sphinx woman, the riddle loving girl, is that I guess your riddle and you die within 3 days, or I don't guess your riddle and you you get to marry me. Otherwise, they if there was no possible payoff, they wouldn't go and risk death with their riddles. But why didn't the prince just like not let her guess it? I mean, why did he have to go through this whole thing of like, you know, giving her the answer? Like I have no idea about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
I
know, maybe
wonder if
just some attempt to like make her game like uh
turn her game on on herself or something like
or
that.
just like to just invalidate the game in a way. Or or just kind of like you said, like making her like grow up and not be so stuck on games anymore. Um, because he already had the proof with the mantles, and it seems the mantles were what kind of swayed the judges to like overlook that she maybe had an answer and and could get it, maybe could still get away with it because yeah, because I guess just the mantles were like maybe showing like she kind of was lost in innocence in a way by like being in that man's room at nighttime.
Yeah, I was wondering about that actually. There's some kind of play here on like sexuality and things. Uh, maybe there's some sort of almost this is a, you know, literary rendition of some more uh, less accepted kind of premarital sexual thing or something.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it is sort of, but anyway, the story is more satisfying with her, with him kind of letting her think she's won, you know,
Mhm.
rather than just her being baffled. Maybe the thing is psychologically, he reads her as someone, he correctly reads her as someone who would never quite be satisfied. Like, oh, you know, that was just a riddle that you just made up from your life, like that I could have never guessed because I just don't know your particular biography. This isn't like something like the riddle of the Sphinx in Sophocles, you know, that is universal. It's like the human being, you know. So maybe who knows if she would have tried to find a way out of it, or anyway, she would never have been satisfied. But he, yeah, in a way, like with a dragon or with others, he tames her. he tames her kind of
Mm.
wild, maybe malicious spirit. And that's also maybe something about coming of age. Yeah. Yeah, and there's a, economy of language at the conclusion where in the conclusion everything wraps up in like three sentences. The judges come and she gives them the answer to the riddle, and so we'll continue her story of like, this is the 10th guy that I killed, and you all thought that maybe I wouldn't guess it, and it took me 3 days, yes, but I guessed it, and here's the answer. But nope, here's the proof that the that that it's ill-gotten gains, that she did not actually guess it. I told her the answer. So maybe it's in a way, yeah, like I said, it's a mastery of her or something like that. But anyway, yeah, that wraps up the story real quick. So then they say, okay, so in this proceeding, the meaning of it is not to give you your kudos for guessing the riddle and then to kill this guy, but no, you have to marry him in that mantle that he brought forth. Yeah, in these stories, it seems like, yeah, there's a lot of things that have double meanings. Like the mantle is first uh, a symbol of her identity because it's a gray woolen, misty gray mantle that identifies her as that distinguishes her from her maids, and later the judges are able to use that to identify her, and it signifies, as you were saying, like her maidenhood as well. And then it's used as proof that get she did not guess the riddle, but actually tried to cheat and to try to listen in on him just saying it in his sleep, which is in a way like some kind of spell, maybe. Like she's trying to get the answer from him when he's in an altered state. And there's probably some kind of parallel there with the other three lodging places in this story, with the witch's lodging place, the innkeeper, and now here. This story does seem to be about, yeah, finding home, finding a place to rest your head, but then, it being a den of scorpions, it being a place of danger. But yeah, yeah. And then, yeah, that mantle is then transformed into a symbol of everything changing for her and him. He's not going to wander around slaying dragons, so to speak, anymore. And she's not going to kind of ravage the land by tempting men with her beauty and then killing them. But now, with that mantle, which is now transformed a little bit with gold and silver embroidery, now becomes a symbol of her, yeah, marriagehood, and maybe becoming, since she is the king's daughter, um, becoming a queen, and taking on responsibility and whatnot, helping others, and becoming a kind of home, you know, for her realm, rather than a black hole that's sucking people in and dispatching of them. Anyway, yeah, yeah, economy of symbol. But you seem kind of tired. You still have any more thoughts?
Not so far.
Okay, okay. Well, yeah. Do you want to talk any more about this, or you wanna go for now?
Yeah, I'm good for today.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, there was more to this story than I originally thought. I think that always happens when we read these stories, but it was enjoyable. And yeah, maybe next week we'll try to do Cinderella if you want to. And anyway, onwards and upwards. I hope you have a good night.
Me too.